Here we have a beautiful speech about from this week's Torah portion. We finished a mimer that we did about sounding the shofar. Remember what happens on Rosh Hashanah when we sound the shofar? And there was no mimer in Likuti Torah on this week's Torah portion. We did that. But here's an interesting speech given by the Rebbe in one of his books called Likuti Sichot means a gathering of speeches. And this one is in Yiddish. And it is, if you're interested, it's in book number 24. It was a speech that was given mostly on 1979. And it talks about a sentence right near the end of this week's Torah portion that says that when you lay siege to a city, you should not, and you need trees, let's say, to make a battering ram or whatever. So you can cut down the trees, but not the fruit trees. Not the fruit trees. Why? Because are fruit trees people? You're making war against people. You're not making war against trees. So it says, are fruit trees men? But in Hebrew, though, it comes out a little bit different, meaning the same thing. Man is a fruit tree, implying that it's a fruit tree, a man. But the Midrash takes this in a bit different way. And it says that because the Torah says that a man is a fruit tree, and there's no punctuation marks in the thing, so you can't see if there's a question mark or whatever. So really, it's a, what do they call it? A rhetorical question. Is a fruit tree a man? Right? Man, do you call to a fruit tree? Man. So it doesn't say the punctuation. So they say, well, because it therefore can also be interpreted, even though it doesn't really fit into the context that it's written in, but nevertheless, that's what the words say. So therefore, God made it that way so that according to the Midrash, they could explain it in a different way. And it says, a man is a fruit tree. Right? And the Midrash really goes into this, explains how different ways that a man is like a fruit tree and the man is So the Rebbe is going to say here that because all these Midrashim say that a man is a fruit tree, it seems to be implying that, and it's taken out of context. In other words, they do it, you have to juggle around the words and the meaning. So because they do it, and these people are holy people that are saying this, they're speaking with the opinion of God. So because they're saying it, it must be that it has more than just a simple meaning, because what does it mean a man is a fruit tree? You can say, well, there's certain things, that man is like a fruit tree. First of all, an important thing of man is that he gives fruits, and that a man has roots, and it's important about how he grows. Obviously when it's a child, you have to take care of him when he's a child, and then he'll grow up to be nice. So, but then when it says a man is a fruit tree, seems to be implying that a man is a fruit tree in his essence. That the sum total of man, and the essence of man, is that he's a fruit tree. And we're going to see how this is. Let's have a look. I have a pasuk on the sentence that it says in our Torah portion. That man is a fruit tree. The Gemara asks a question. A person is a tree. So because the Gemara asked the question, is man a tree? This and the Gemara answers, Ella, but mishum because it says mimeno tochal v'oto lo tichrot, because it says it's talking about a fruit tree, and it says that from it you should eat and you should not cut it down. And then later on it says, but other trees, oto tashchit v'karata. Other trees you can cut down and eat. Ha ketzad, one sentence says you must not cut it down, another says you should. So the simple meaning is if it's a fruit tree, you shouldn't cut it down. But now we're talking about a man. We're talking about man is the tree. So how does this work out in a man? You should cut down a man if he hasn't got any fruits. What does it mean? So it says no. It means like this. In Talmid Chacham, excuse me. If you meet up with someone that doesn't know Torah, Hagon, and he's not a proper person. I'm sorry. In Talmid Chacham, Hagon, if he is a Talmid Chacham, and he is a proper person, his personality is proper. Then you should eat. What does it mean? Eat. Learn Torah from him. Then don't cut him off. What does it mean? Don't cut him off. Don't cut off connection with him. The imlav, and if not, if the person is not a Torah scholar and he has a good personality, then oto tashchit, then you should destroy him. What does it mean, destroy him? It means surah mi'alav, cut off connection with him. Cut off connection. Okay. Darfman versteht. Says the Rebbe, okay, very nice. That's what the Gemara says. That how is a man a tree? That we're talking about a human being. What are the fruits from the man is Torah and proper and good character trait. So if a person has, you can learn from a person Torah and character traits, good character traits, then attach yourself to him, so to speak, eat from him. And if not, then cut him off. What does it mean? Cut off connection with him. Then you don't have to have, you can say, hello, good morning, how are you? But you shouldn't be attached to this person. He'll teach you bad things. From this was the Gemara, which the Gemara asked the question that is man a tree, is muchach. This seems to indicate as the Gemara, that the Gemara nemt on, that the Gemara assumes, as does was der pasuk, that which the Torah farglecht compares an adam to a person, to a tree, is nit blois, is not only val eitz asada dint ze a mushel, it gives them a a tree, some sort of examples from Velchem, from which we can understand one or a few of the qualities of man are similar to a tree. Because the Torah says a man is like a tree, so it seems to imply there's not just one or two details, man is like a tree. Because if the Torah means to compare nor in gevesim pratim, only in certain details, certain aspects, that a man in certain aspects is like a tree, then there wouldn't be any question in the Gemara. Was the Gemara asked the question, is man really a tree? Is man a fruit? If you want to say, yes, a man is a fruit tree in several details. So the Gemara doesn't have to ask that. That's obvious that man is like a tree in several details. The man is, here we'll see. Why? There are many things, velcha and adam, which a person can yafar glechen. There's many things which you don't need the Torah to tell you that a man is like a tree. That a man is like a tree. That people grow, a tree grows. It's very important on the tree in its beginning stages that you treat it properly, etc. It gives fruits. Man gives fruit. Nor as an adam, we have to say that we have to say that the Gemara is implying that a man is in total a tree of the field. An eitz as eitz, that the word tree dricht ois, this expresses nit blois tail veis, not only portions in certain details, aber tafel dika pratim, but secondary things to a man, nor the ganze Sach, this is the whole essence of man. A man is like a tree. That's the essence of man, is like a tree. How can that be? Trees think? Trees move around, we'll see. How is a man essentially like a tree? That's the essence of what man is like a tree. Yeshlom, we can say, as das is euch verständig, it's understood from the fact, was men sagt nit kein Tachnun b'chamish asar b'shvat. It's interesting that in the 15th day of Shvat, it says in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, it says that the 15th day of Shvat, that's when God judges the trees. It's called the Rosh Hashanah Le'elanot. It's the New Year's Day for trees. That's when there's a new dispensation. It explains why. When the water comes, the water is we judge this water is judged on the holiday of Sukkot is water, and the water starts affecting. And however it is, but nevertheless, the 15th day of Shvat is called the New Year's Day for trees. And on that day, we make a little bit of a celebration, sort of. So we don't say the Tachanun prayer, special prayer, sort of a sad prayer. We don't say it. So there's a custom in the Jewish people also that we eat fruits of the trees on this day. Un men verdient as mitten pasuk, and we connect this to the sentence that man is like the fruit is like a tree of the field. So we Jewish people celebrate the judgment day of trees. So it's a Jewish holiday. So it must be something important to Judaism in general. Says the Rebbe, it's not only is it important, this is in one way the most important holiday. Man is not just like a tree, man is a tree. How? Let's see. If the trees of the field is nitmer, is only like just an example, it's like a comparison. Is this doch nit kein tam? There's no reason that a man should so proven that a person should conduct himself the holiday should celebrate the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, New Year's Day, on the day when trees are judged. Why should we celebrate? Let the trees celebrate it. Is there from there so we can understand that a man is a tree means, like we said before, that the essence of man, the whole of sum total of man is a tree of a field. Therefore, Rosh Hashanah, excuse me, therefore the Rosh Hashanah from the trees has a connection to man. So how is it that man is totally a tree? What does this mean? Isn't it verstanden? This is not understandable. How is it answered the question from the Gemara, Ki Adam Eitzasada, that a man is like a field? And it says, how is a man like a field? It says, because if the man knows Torah and he's a proper person, then you should eat from him, you should learn from him, come close to him. That's the answer. Vipalt az oich der inyan is lechora nit mervi. It's just a mushal. It's just like a sort of a metaphor. What do we call it? The parable. The nimshal, and a comparison to a man with a field. Just one little detail, and even more. This is only one specific detail and one aspect of a person. Bleibt doch the shaila, remains the place, is the whole essence of man. Men sulib them anrufen their adam eitzasada. But just in regard to learning Torah, that's the whole essence of man, is learning Torah. What about you can't have a friend that doesn't learn Torah? And what if you yourself don't appreciate that? You don't want to learn Torah. You don't know how to learn the Torah. It means my only friends could be people that I don't have anything connection to. Only people that learn Torah, we have to be connected. But I mean, that doesn't show how the whole essence of man is a tree. Just because he has fruits, he learns Torah. How does that the essence of man? How is it general to explain that the whole excellence and uniqueness of man, and it was the whole type of what's called human beings, is their myth was that he's like a tree. From it someach, he has the qualities of a plant. Right? That doesn't make any. That's a bad thing, right? You say in Hebrew, when a person says that someach, least in a vegetative state. And even in English, a vegetative state means a person is not functioning like a person. A vegetative state means that all he can do is maybe grow. If you put vitamins in his infusion, then he'll grow. Or it's like a plant. How can you compare a person with a plant and say that the whole essence of a man is like a plant? It'd be better to compare it to an animal. At least animals move around. The animals they communicate with one another. Right? Animals understand things. A person is like the essence of man is a tree. Trees don't communicate with each other. I mean, maybe somehow whether they do, it could be, but normal way trees do not communicate with one another, and trees don't move around. Trees don't understand things. Emistak, it's true, as by an adam, by a person. I mean, if you take these people that have kindness to animals, okay, they got a good point, kindness to animals, but they don't say kindness to trees. Maybe some of them say you shouldn't cut down trees because it's against nature or something, but they have nothing against eating a carrot. Eating a carrot. They certainly do eat them. So everyone will agree that a man should not be compared to a tree. It's not a really nice thing. And the Talmud, not only that the Torah does compare it to a tree, but the Talmud says that's the whole essence of man is a tree. Emistak, it's true that by a person there are certain details like that are good, like the plant life, and especially the growing up. A person has in his body, he has things that grow automatically, like for instance, your fingernails, your hair. But if so, is done by the person is only the Gresra Maila, the Inyan from Chai. We can say that the main thing of a person is that he's alive, he's like an animal, he has consciousness. And the main thing is nit is there nit in them b'shtei the milas adam. This is not the unique quality of man, that he has certain details in his in his life that are like vegetative. So if so, how can it be that man is like a tree? Okay, says the Rebbe, the milam yocheres ois ge Taltik from the someach, the unique thing of a tree, that a tree has one unique feature that is not similar to plant or man. The state in them was verdikt nit behalten nit, that is not concealed. The emes chayus, it doesn't conceal the true life. Is ständig mechuber. I'm sorry, he's not is not separated from his true source of life. A tree, a plant, whatever, it's always connected because it has roots to its source. Well, this is a good thing. A tree, you can always see that it's connected to its source. Zum koach hatzamech, to the power of growth, which is in the ground. Was macht in leben, this makes him alive, und wachsen and grow. When men restop, when we remove a plant from the ground, as vertes oich tzamech, then it is no longer a plant. By chai, when we're talking about an animal or a person, gefindt men nit, we don't find as ze sollen musen sein zu gebunden, they are not connected to their source of life. Ze seien nit mechuber, they are not connected to the ground. From Vanet, as is given the Hishavus, which man was created from earth, from the earth. Man and animals were created from the earth. That's what it says. A kol min offer. Look in the Bible. It says that man was created from the earth. That's why it's called Adam. Right? One of the reasons it's called Adam because he comes from the Adamah, from the ground. And also animals. It says that man took the earth and he made animals. And also human beings, or who knows what, a great percentage of a person is ground. I mean, they say that the great percentage is water, but you don't see that. You don't see water. You see a person is mostly earth. right? Put him in the ground, he rots like earth, nor goes back to the earth, nor the hisavos, the birth from every animal and human is ernit behaften, is not connected to a source and its origin. Was hat him geboren, which gave birth to him. Oib oib their muzzin from Chayim Medaber is in an ofen as they darfen nicht stehen in Chibur mit der Makor from their muzzin. Okay, let's take another example. An animal, once it's born, right? A human being, when he's born, he separates himself from his mother. But a plant that's born is always connected to Mother Earth. It's always connected, so you can see its connection all the time. Masha'inki, which is not the case by plants, which plants are always connected to their source. Well, this is a good thing, right? To be connected to your source. Men gefint al derech zeh, similarly, something similar to fish. Fish also have to be always connected to their source, water. And then they seinen for Purushim, when they separate from the sea, then they die. As soon as they dry up, they die. Adarabah, exactly the opposite. Mer from Tzameach, even more than plants. If you pull a plant out of the ground, you can bring it to the the store, and it still is alive. It still is alive. Maybe a fish, as soon as you pull it out from the ground, it flaps around for a little while, a few minutes, how long it is, right? And generally speaking, a fish, when you pull it out after half an hour or whatever, it's dead, totally dead. It's totally dead, and it starts rotting. A plant is not so. You can take plants out; they can days, they can last weeks, right on the shelf. They bleiben mit their ganzen Metzius in seinem Makor in Wasser. Fish, though, fish are something like plants. They're always connected to their source. So also maybe we can compare a man to a fish. Huh? A fish. Says the Rebbe, why does the Torah compare man to a tree? Man to a tree. Says the Rebbe, why not to a fish? He says, but by a fish, and then gufa is their chiddush. That's because the whole novelty of plant life in comparison to fish, as oich ven ze wachsen, even when they grow out of the ground, chutz lamakorum, and you can see apparently they're not connected. Biz boimel, until there are true trees was wachsen hecher from gimel tefachim, the trees that grow up higher than, let's say, 3 tefachim. 3 tefachim is like a foot high. 10 tefachim, which is like 3 feet high. Biz goraech, until there's trees that can reach the 10 stories high. As blabed they tummy, they're always connected to their source in the earth. The al yadama, by means of this, with the power of growth which is in the ground. Not like fish. Fish have only one thing. They have to be totally connected. They can't come out. A tree, for an example, can come out of the ground, but it still is at the same time always connected. The odin is another thing. By fish is the dag, the fish is each individual fish is prati, klal nit verbunden mit sein mokor chayus prati. The fish is not, each individual fish is not connected to its individual source. It moves around. Ergeta river, the fish moves around. Afilu minar liyam, it can go from the river to the sea, which is not the case by a plant. Plants always remain to their source, their unique source of life. Each plant is always connected to its place. Oh. So if so, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We can learn from that. We're not finished yet. We learn from that. We always have to be connected to our unique source. That God is uniquely enlivening every person, and we have to be connected to that unique source like a tree. That's pretty good. Listen to this. In dem gufa, but in this is also an advantage, a big advantage between a tree and all the other plants. The Torah compares man to a tree of the field. It doesn't compare man to a cabbage or to a carrot or something like that, or just to a plant in general, to a tree. What's so special about a tree? Here we go. So over here, oh. Why a tree? Like for instance, other why not other vegetables, etc. They also remain in their place. And it says because a tree don't other fruits don't remain in their place from one year to another. Therefore, liren zermetzius. Plants don't last that long in the ground. The kegen, which is not the case, trees. Trees, they bring out fruits from every year, once a year. Fruit trees, this is the fruit trees. Man is compared to a fruit tree, right? That's what it says. Don't cut down the fruit trees because they're like men. It says a fruit tree, why? Because a fruit tree, it's connected to the ground, that's good. It comes out of the ground, that's good. But it stays in that condition. And it produces fruits. What does it mean? And it lasts for a long time. It can sovel sein, it can bear all sorts of different changes, summer, winter, und es wird nicht nifsak, and it doesn't stop its existence. Was das weist, if this indicates a gur starken chibur, a tremendous connection, strong connection with its source. Was git im ze arain, a token which gives a tremendous power and strength of nit nispalver, that it is not negatively affected by different changes of time. Blade makomut stays in its place, on oich vaxen, and it also grows from one year to another. Fruit trees. Interesting. When the winter comes and there's fruit trees, unless it's a really terrible winter that just freezes everything. When the fruit trees are still connected, they still grow, but they don't make trees, they don't make fruits, but they bear all sorts of different climates. Their Adam, a person, is a small world. And each human being is a small universe. Punkt wie der Olam Gadol, just like the big universe, is in ganz and eingeteilt, it is connected. The man can also be divided into four different categories: mineral, plant, animal, and human. Azoizen oich bayam adam, also a person spiritually. There's also four different types. Now we're going to see what is a tree in a person spiritually, how that's the essence of man, is the tree spiritually. You do it like it's known that the emotions from a person, from a mention, zayin and someach, this is what's called the vegetative state of his soul. Why like vegetables? Why? While because in the midos, in a person's emotions, in his personality, is found their inyan of tzmicha mikatnas to gadlos, because they grow from being small to being more mature. Your emotions become more and more mature. Your emotions become more and more mature. And also the thing about you become more interested in something, you love a thing more, the love grows, you hate a thing more, the hate grows, the hate gets less. Like the emotions, the main characters that they grow. In Koach HaSeichel, what about, so the main thing in some ways is going to be a person's emotions, his personality, his character. By a person's intellect, as Faran Nit Belois, there's not just the thing of growing from small to big, nor oich them inyan from chai. In a person's, in Koach HaSeichel is Faran Nit Belois the inyan from smicha mikatlas to gadlos, nor oich the inyan from chai. In the intellect of a person, there's not only the aspect of emotions, like we said, like plant life, but there's also the animal aspect of our intelligence, of man, inside of each person. Inside of each person, there's these four aspects of plant, animal, human, and mineral. So plant, we said, is the emotional aspect. So in each one of these four, inside of man, there's also four. Inside of Seichel, in intellect, there's also the idea, the aspect of animal. What's animal? That intellect can move from one place to another. Like an animal. It can move from one place to another. Also intellect It's not joined, mugdar, or limited, un, second, untergeworfen zu sein Teva, is the it's not, how do you say, connected to one's nature. Seichel is in yone to verstehen a Sach. What does it mean? A person's intellect doesn't show who the person is. Nowadays, they have this, it's a big thing, I maybe started a long time ago. They have what's called IQ and EQ. There's what's called intellectual quotient and emotional quotient. In some ways, emotional is much superior to intellectual, especially if you have to deal with people. Intellectual is good for a person that has to be a mathematician, a scientist, whatever, sits in a room, doesn't deal with anybody, no one whatsoever. He's just alone, totally alone, doesn't talk to anybody. People come to him and he tells them what he knows, and that's it, right? So intellect doesn't really show on who the person is. What shows on, because intellect can move from one place to another, right? You can understand this idea, you can agree with this, you can. Widersach is azoy as is holech umeshane makom. Intellect changes place. A mol to chesed, once in a while you can explain why it's a good thing to be kind. A mol gavura, sometimes to be strict. By an inyan, by ein inyan, as maskanas asechel, by one thing, the intellect can be as darv zayin chesed, you should be kind. And by another, he says gavura, should be severe. Masha Enkian, which you can see this a very thing by bribery, right? A judge is supposed to be this, he's very intellectual. You give him a little bribe, all of a sudden his mind changes totally, right? Before he was your best friend, he saw you were innocent, he understood your situation. Somebody slips him a couple $1 million in his bank account, and all of a sudden he becomes your worst enemy. And all of his logic goes up because the mind doesn't show on what the person's personality is, which is not the case of person's emotions. Emotions on their own, seinen mugdar and seinen teva. This shows who the person really is. Midas a chesed bleibt. A person, kindness remains kind. In kaiva chesed. Maybe sometimes you don't use it, but kindness is kindness. On the zoe means the gavura, and also severity is kaiva gavura. It says norvus vaxen nikatnas the goddess. You can just be more mature in your emotions, but the emotions remain the same emotions. Your mind can change totally. Your mind can change totally, but your emotions change, right? They change. You can love, sometimes you can change what you love, right? Instead of loving bad things, you can love good things, but love itself remains the same, which is not the case intellect. Intellect can sometimes change totally from one end to the other. Just like plants are olam gadol in the big world, real plants, like in your garden, is oisketel. They are connected. They are oisketel, like we said before. They are special because they have this quality which they are always joined to their source. Is alder says similarly also the aspect of the emotions in a person. Midot. How are they always connected? Azay haben amayla ibra. There's something more essential about them, more than intellect, which goes specifically one's emotions, love, hate, rejection. They're constantly joined to their source. Panemius nefesh adam. This shows on who the person really is. Right? If a person agrees with you in his mind, that doesn't show that he really agrees with you. If you see that a person really agrees with you in his emotions, then it means you've convinced the person. Und das ist euch der Tam. This is the reason for us why the emotions, feeling of the heart, they have in sich, they have in them, was zen, like we see, a big power. B is powerful. B is when a person gets emotional about something, he's excited. How do you say inspired by something? Then how do you see he's inspired? He gets emotional about it. That shows that he is in the thing. And emotions are saying that's the tree part of a man. That's the vegetative part of man. Biz as es is gor shver. It's very difficult as they zolin mishana makom that you can change them. Zich beden to change them al derech vigaret free, like we said before, by trees. Right? And we see nowadays you can fake it. You can also be convinced of something, or you can try to convince yourself by showing that you're excited about it. We see nowadays with these, there's these people. Okay, let's not think about negative things. Let's talk about positive things. As ish chesed, that a person who's kind by nature is gor shvir, is very difficult that he can change his nature to be a person that is severe, and you can take courses and things about it, but it's very difficult. That's your nature. As afalpikin, nevertheless, it is possible that you can change your nature. Not generally. A person can overpower his nature. Seichel of teva midas, that your mind can rule over and change your emotions. Business is nit ze meshane ze fun ralatov. He can change from bad to good. Azoi v, like, I think we're going to have to finish this tomorrow. Ba'ilon is like a tree. Like trees, is durach them tircha yeter. If you make a big effort from okerzain and you uproot a tree from its place and you plant it in another place, so we see here's an exception. The tree does leave its source and it can be moved to another place. And if you make a big effort, then we can see that it'll grow in the new place as well. You have to put a lot of fertilizer, you have to water it, especially care for it. And sometimes it can even grow better and be yoter seit and more than it was in its first place. So it's possible that you can uproot your emotions from being a person that's very strict and negative and always, pessimistic, and you can change your attitude to be very kind and open. But it takes a lot of work, very difficult. Generally speaking, emotions are much more rooted in the essence of a person than his intellect is. Intellect, you use your mind. You've given a gift. You're intelligent, but it flits all over the place, moves your mind, which is not the case. The emotions generally remain. Your character generally remains one thing. Und das gufa. I know that, for instance, there is in astrology. There's some aspects of astrology which are permissible, and that is human nature. You can't. It's forbidden to tell the future. It's forbidden to tell the future with astrology. What's going to happen? You should invest. It's not a good. That's forbidden to do according to Judaism. But you can use astrology. There is a certain validity to it, and one validity that it has is that when you were born, it indicates that you have certain character traits, and usually those character traits are expressed in your emotions. You're this type of a person. You're that type of a person, right? That's how you are. This type of person. So in other words, the way that you're born, your character traits that you're born with are very difficult to change, which is not the case if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a communist, or this, right? There's those ideas you can change. Your mind is not so joined to your essence. Well, das gufa, and this is also the reason why that seichel, that intellect, werd nit mugdar, is not really part of the nature of a person. Like we could see that a person can understand and he can really grasp an idea, and inyan was is hepechtiva, which is the opposite of his nature. I mean, it's a general thing. If you're arguing with somebody, you should always try to see things from their point of view. So you can change your mind, see things from their point of view, and you can even agree with them intellectually. You can agree. I see what you're saying. I understand, right? I understand what you're saying 100%. Like I told you, I saw once two people arguing about, does God exist? And one of them said, listen, if I thought that God was what you thought God is, I also wouldn't believe in him. And as I see things from your point of view. So mind can easily grab an idea which is the opposite of my nature. The opposite of my nature. I can understand why people worship the golden calf. You can see why it's a It's a very, the desirous thing, and a very, popular thing, and a very, the inspiring thing. I can really understand that. I can get into it, but that's opposite of my nature. My nature is that I think it's just, terrible, disgusting. How could a person, think about himself all day and just worshiping idols, even spiritually, think about yourself? But I can understand it. So your mind can understand things that are opposite of your nature. Val der seichel, because a person's intellect, and we said that's the aspect of the animal aspect of a person, is begila is revealed, it's not so joined to its source. Just like an animal in the real world, in the outside world, it's not connected to its source. It can run around and it forgets its mother, it forgets to ground it. Therefore, Vedmen versteht, we can understand the was der pasuk, which the sentence says, Ki adam that man is a tree of the field. The zach from adam, the main thing of a person is Eitzasada, is the tree of a field. I'm just giving another example. Maybe parents with children with parents, the love that children have for their parents, and even more so that parents have for their children. It's a thing that's so deep inside of a person that in a way, it's not affected in its essence by intellect, by things that happen. Right? A child did bad to his parents, and etc. And he comes back. The parents see that genuinely, I'm really sorry. They love him. They love him. If your next door neighbor does the same thing that your son did to him, and you hate him, and he says, "I'm sorry," right here, I'm paying reparations. You don't love him. You don't love him because of that. It doesn't awaken. Even if he was your best friend at one time, it doesn't awaken that love. No, maybe it will, maybe it could be, but the point is that emotions are much deeper and less apt to change than intellect is. So now we can understand why, because it comes from the essence of a person's soul. Now, by this we can understand what the sentence says, that a man is the tree of a field. Tree of a field. Maybe I take that back. Maybe it could be the good friends. If it's truly a true friend, then you're always excusing your other friend. Why did he do it? He must be crazy. He must have had problems. There's something wrong with him. Somebody must have told him bad things about me. He lied about me. You're always trying to explain, because the love is always there. Like the love of God with the Jewish people. Love. So love, we see, is more connected to the essence. Emotions are more connected. And we're saying the emotions of a person, that's the vegetative state of a person. Vegetative is not the right word. That's the tree part. And intellect is like the animal part compared to an animal, because it moves around. The zach from adam, the main thing of a person. So now we can see the main thing of a person is Eitzasada. It's the tree. It's the tree of the field. Now, because davka in the midos, because specifically in emotions, and that's the aspect of the tzomech, of the vegetable part of a person, the emotions, come to Rosh Begillah, comes really revealed who that person is, the source of a person, who the person really is. The Yesh Lomo, we can say, as therefore is the main service of man, not so much intellect, but mainly refining one's emotions, your personality. While tikkun midas, by fixing a person's emotions, this touches to the essence of his soul. Und darüber, and therefore, dargleich, it compares a man in his complete whole being to this service of fixing up your emotions, what you love, loving God, loving. Biz as oich the shlemus, the completion from the intellect of a person, is expressed by means of how it affects his emotions. Und das is, and this is what the Gemara says, that the whole idea of man is a tree of a field. This gets sich arois in them in Talmud Chacham. This is expressed. It says if the person is a Talmudic scholar, if he knows the Torah, and he's hagon, and he has a proper personality, then you should eat from him. What does it mean? That means he's hagon, means he's proper. It means that the Talmud Chacham is not the main thing of his intellect. And he knows the Torah very well, and he impresses everybody. He knows all the answers to all your questions. But the main thing of a Torah scholar is sein Seichel for was sein, how his intellect affects his emotions, his personality, was thus bringt ois their fear. Then he conducts himself in a way which is proper. So you see a person that's a big Talmud Chacham, a genius, and he loses his temper. He accepts bribes. He could be the biggest intellect genius in the world, but that's not the person. That's what. Then, from such a Talmud Chacham, from such a Torah scholar, that you should connect yourself. You should eat, so to speak. You should partake. From him, you can learn and receive. Adam, it's a because a man is the tree of a field. Then is man Adam. When is a person a human being, a man in the true sense of the word? From them and men can learn, which we can learn only if he is like a tree of the field. Then what does it mean? That he's connected to his source, and that's the emotions, his emotions, how it comes out, that they show that he's connected to his source. The shame, just like why it is by every single individual person individually, so it is also in all of the Jewish people in general. How so? Let's see. I don't know if we can finish this today. We might have to do this tomorrow. Yeah, I think we're going to have to finish this tomorrow. 1 second. Give me a minute. Give me a second. All right, you know what? Let's try to finish. Here we go. All Jews come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're our fathers. Und das is an oifen in such a way that they are constantly connected to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Just like a tree is constantly connected to its source, so Jews are. Und das is an oifen, this is in a way which they are constantly connected to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And like Rashi says on the pasuk, Ki merosh tzurim erenu. This is one of the blessings that Bilam gave to the Jewish people. He said that from the top of the mountains I see him. Says I look the top of the mountains, mirosh, from the top. I look at the top of the Jews, the beginning, the source. I see them found that they're connected to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rachel, Rivka, Leah. So Rivka, Rachel, Leah is was directed. What expresses this connection of every Jew to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Not intellect, but rather the emotions. Like it's known that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this corresponds not to 3 aspects of intellect, but 3 aspects of emotions: love, fear, and mercy. This is all of the levels of intellect, of emotion. Und sie haben Morish, and the Jewish people inherited this, given over this to their children after them forever. Also, these emotions of loving God, loving the Torah, loving every Jew, fearing God, respecting the Torah, respecting every Jew, having mercy, etc. Love, fear, and mercy. And this, they express the emotions because they are all connected. The Jews are connected to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all the time in every way. Was their tam? The reason for this is their inyan Yerusha. The whole idea of an inheritance is a connecting of the essence with the one who gives you the inheritance. Und dariber, and thus was the avos, that which Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob they gave over to their children after them. This is in a way of a Yerusha. A Yerusha means if my father gives me as an inheritance everything he has, then I just take the place of my father. I don't have to pull the things over into where I live. They just changed the name. I am the same thing as my father, right? Nit azoy verbunden mit der madrega. Of course, the difference is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are still alive. They gave us an inheritance, but they're still alive. In Seichel v'hasaga elokus, the dugmas madrigas like Abraham, that Abraham, we said that Abraham is a tremendous high level of awareness of God, and that one of the big things of Abraham was that he became aware of God, when he was 3 years old, when he was 40 years old. He had a tremendous, what's called Seichel Ne'elam, we call Rayon. Abraham got the highest levels of awareness, intellect, but that's not the main thing of Abraham, because intellect is revealed, doesn't reveal so much the connection with the essence that's given over in an inheritance, nor does is verbunden with this is connected with his service in emotions, love, fear, mercy. And because this, the nature of emotions, is they are connected with the inside of your soul. Aina, from one of, I think we'll finish, one of the teachings which we can learn from this simply is the source of life of a Jew is Torah. It says, Heim Chayenu, the Torah is our life. It's not just, it's a good food, it's our very soul. But the way that life of the majority of people is according to Torah, in a way that the Torah is, those people that really show this connection constantly, that their Torah is their only job and that they do, the only thing they do is learn Torah. This is very, very few. Very, very few. It Yashu's oil, and very few people sit and learn Torah all the time. And it's not a good thing also. Some people are not meant to sit and learn Torah all the time. And the Rebbe is going to say that we shouldn't, because that's like fish. Fish in the sea, they are found constantly in their source. But what? We have to be like a tree and go out into the world, and there we can carry out the message, the mission that God wants to make a dira b'tachtonim, to fix up this physical world, make God revealed in the world. So therefore, that's what the man is like a tree. A Jew has to remember that he has to be, on one hand, constantly connected to his source, constantly connected to his source. That he has to be connected constantly to the source of his life. But the chayus and Torah, namely his life, we said the source is Torah and the commandments, which that is comes, those people sit and learn Torah all the time. They are the ones that connect us to learning Torah. And even more, those days that we did spend learning Torah, they should be always with us constantly. Not just that they affect our lives, but that is what gives us life constantly. Biz as a fiert an and it's zu bringen zu zugebunden zu jeder Zman. That the times that we did sit and learn Torah constantly, even if it's just for a couple of hours, that those things, we should be connected to that all the time, that becomes the source of our life. Thus, that means by a person has to be not just a feeling that the time that once back then, when he sat and he learned the Torah, when he was in the yeshiva, or whatever, so he remembers, he remembers now how once he used to be connected to the Torah and learn. But no, it has to be that right now, you have to be connected every moment, right now, to the source of your life, like it's a brand new thing. And as thus is Zerchayas, he feels that the time when he sat and learned the Torah, this is his life right now. And in this is his all existence. Now, what about those people who never learned Torah? So they'll go to your Chabad house or go to your local synagogue and go to the local rabbi, normal rabbi, we're talking about a normal rabbi that sits and he learns Torah, teaches you Torah, and he teaches you Torah and believes that it's connected to God, and go to classes. Go to classes, even if it's once a week. How much, if it's twice a week, if it's once every day, wonderful, right? The more time that you can sit, here we have classes online. You can come home and open up line, look at what the way you are. You're more attuned to the Sephardic way of learning, to the Litvish way of learning, to the Hungarish way of learning, to the Hasidic way of learning, to the Chabad way of learning, to this. If they learn Gemara, especially, it's the same Gemara. But the thing is to learn Torah, that it becomes your life right now. On the other hand, the people who sit and do learn Torah all the time, they have to know that they have to be like a tree. They have to be not like a fish. It's not good enough to just have your intellect alone. The intellect can be changed. For zichung, you can't be sure that after maybe when you go out from the Torah, maybe you'll that that you'll still remain connected like you should to Torah. Davka limud, only when you learn Torah is in a way that you take it to your heart. Then the Torah will be eingekritzt, that it'll be carved in to the person in a way that at lo shenisi, I never changed. And like I said, those people who didn't learn Torah would take one sentence of the Torah, Shema Yisrael, one sentence from the Torah, and repeat it over, try to understand what it means. Think about it. You realize that the Torah is not just an extra book that's given to teach us about our religion. The Torah is the source of life. It's the source of reality. And it's the wisdom of God, the Creator, and the will. In was far a matzav, and no matter what situation that you are in, you always remain connected to your source, like a tree. So you can be connected to your source, but you can go outside of that source constantly, and you can grow. That's why a man is like a tree, because the main thing of man is his emotions, and he has to always be connected to his source, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the Torah.